Hey everybody, here we go. This is going to be so much fun today. My name's Dan Stewart. I am so privileged to host this event for you today. I'm so glad that so many of you are here. It is just now the stroke of 3 o'clock and we're going to kick off right on time. Now we have a lot of things that we want to cover today, so I want to get a couple of housekeeping issues right out of the way. First, you should be able to hear me, see my screen, and see my face with no problem. I do a lot of webinars. If you're having any sort of technical issue right now, it's almost certainly on your end. So just, take a moment and run through your troubleshooting. I'm sure you'll find the issue. Now, another thing, the final registration for today was 3,182 people. And with GoToWebinar, of course, we only have room for 1,000 people to attend. So if you're here with us now, that's great news, right? You're already like 99% of everybody else. It's fantastic that you're able to make it here today. And I promise you that Dianna and I are totally committed to making this a great investment of your time. So as we move through the content, there's a couple of things I want to point out. First, this is not a Happy Grasshopper webinar. So if you're here for a product tour, if you're here to learn about HG Touch for Keller Williams, you're in the wrong place. So this is not the purpose of today's webinar. Today is what we call a Seriously Happy webinar. And they're a little bit different. So I want to take a moment and just explain what a Seriously Happy webinar is all about and how that's a different thing. I've always believed that if you know someone's core beliefs, you really understand how it is that they approach the world, and you know what you're going to get when you understand the way a person thinks. So I want to share with you a few of my core beliefs. First, I believe that all things are possible through conversation. Now, I know many of us will take a conversation for granted, right? It's just a small little chat, it might not matter, or maybe people are interrupting us and we're not ready to have a conversation. Well, the reality is that right now, each of us has all the people in our lives that we need to attain whatever goal we set for ourselves, right? And those other people in our lives, they have immense power that can help us. The way we unlock that power, you guessed it, is through conversation. So that's just a super, super critical thing for you to understand. Now, all of us here today are sales professionals. So we should also understand that conversation leads to a very good thing, right? Conversations lead to contracts. So if you want to have more contracts, that also means you want to have more conversations. So we are going to have a conversation today. My second core belief to share with you is that the person who knows their outcome wins. All right, now, notice I said knows their outcome. I didn't say the person who knows what they want wins. I said the person who knows their outcome wins. When you use the word want, you're letting it live in a place of dreams and hopes and wishes instead of in the real hard concrete world that we live in and that we get things done in. So right now, I want to use this as the first opportunity for you to tell me what it is that you're going to get today. What is your outcome? Why are you here? Why did you join us? So go ahead and enter that in the chat box here, and I'll call out a few of these things. And yes, I will wait. All right, so here we go. Joy, you're looking for knowledge. Margaret's looking for my big, and it's cut off there, looking for my big why. Lee, I want to be a better coach. That's awesome. Laura, I'm a fan of Dianna. Who isn't, right? Anybody who knows Dianna is a fan of Dianna. Sandy, more freedom with my family. Mark, learn from one of the greatest. Ken, for Dianna's wisdom. Andrea, maintaining momentum through challenging real estate markets. I mean, these are all big, important things that we should care about. And again, just think for a moment. You came here today with a purpose. You didn't come here with a want. You're going to get these things by the end of the day. I know that I'm committed to that. So we are going to just pile on lots of great stuff for you. And this brings me to a third point, and this is a really critical one. I'm going to encourage you to choose your teachers wisely. I think it's great today that there are so many people who call themselves coaches. There are a lot of people who want to help. That's a great thing. But that doesn't mean that you should want them to help. Are we clear? You know what I'm saying there? It comes from a good place. They want to provide help. They want to provide service for you. But coaching is not something that just anyone can do. It's not something you just sort of fall into and expect to be good at. Just like I wouldn't let a person experiment on me with brain surgery, I surely would not let a coach experiment with me on something as important as my development. I just wouldn't do it. So those are the three core beliefs I want to cover, and that's why Seriously Happy is so important to me, because I am a person who's benefited so greatly in my life from what I've learned from others. It seems no matter where I go, I always meet people who are willing to help. I'm very open to that. And through Seriously Happy, I have a means of paying that forward. So that's why I've been able to invite my friends and my clients onto these webinars. People like Ben Kinney, like Ryan Tollefson, like Chris Lindahl, Gary Ashton, and the list goes on and on and on. And today, I mean, gosh, what a privilege I have to bring Dianna Kokoszka on board and share what a wonderful person she is with you. Now, before I introduce Dianna, I'm going to take a moment here and thank our sponsors for today, and then we'll dive right into the content. So many of you know me as the guy who started Happy Grasshopper. Some of you are going, Happy Grasshopper, what the heck is that? Never heard of it. So we are the company that writes and delivers email. And I know you're probably thinking, well, gosh, doesn't everything deliver email today? Delivering email is super easy. Delivering email that people want to read is very much a challenge. So we specialize in that. We focus on it for these three areas: lead conversion, recruitment, and your past clients and sphere of influence. So if that's interesting to you and you want to know more, just go to our website, happygrasshopper.com, and you can learn about that. Now, we have just wrapped up my favorite month of the year, Gratitude Month. And one thing I'm incredibly grateful for is that on November 15th, we launched HG Touch for Keller Williams. This is where we get to leverage our 6 years of knowledge, 6 years of creating thousands and thousands of custom campaigns, sending hundreds of millions of emails to provide content specifically for the Keller Williams community that's going to help you have, you guessed it, more conversations. So you can learn more about that by going to tryhg.com. That's try, H as in happy, G as in grasshopper.com, tryhg.com. Now, when we launched, we had a special thing called a foundational membership, and that was available for just 500 people. Today, we've decided that we're going to add 50 of those. So, you know, maybe you were on the fence before. If you want to take advantage of that, you just go to tryhg.com. That puts you to the front of the waiting list of people who are waiting to use our service, and it also locks in our special pre-launch pricing forever. And folks, that concludes the marketing portion of our webinar. So without further ado, I'm going to put on my headset, I'm going to turn off my webcam, and I'm going to introduce to you one of my very favorite people on the planet. So without further ado, folks, I mean, you know why you're here. Dianna is an absolute dynamo of a human being. She gets more done in a single day than most of us get done in a week. She is an incredible human being. She's made a huge impact on the lives of tens of thousands of people. And today, it's my privilege to get to share her wisdom with you. So, Dianna, are you there? Can you hear me?
I am here, and I can hear you. My word, I'm so glad. I will send a check for all the great things that you said about me, Dan.
Well, thank you. I will cash it.
Well, I really appreciate you giving me this opportunity to speak to the people out there, and thank you all for taking your time today. I know I don't take this lightly. I take it very seriously for the amount of time that you're giving to me. In fact, I have some very important goals to make certain that I get across today, and I want to answer the questions that you've sent in. So, Dan, I'm going to let and allow you to just take care of all of this with, asking the questions, and just allow me to, I trust I'll help someone out there. And I can see the numbers as they climb or go down. So obviously, if I'm not doing a good job, the numbers will go down, and otherwise they'll keep climbing. So thank you for the opportunity, and thank you everyone on the call.
Dianna, I'm so pleased that you're here today, and I want to tell you that I have literally hundreds of emails from people with questions that they wanted to ask you, and looking in the question box here now, I see that it's still really filling out. So folks, keep those coming in. I have pulled together a list from that massive batch of questions I got before the webinar today so that we can have those to look to. What I've put together is I want to have kind of a structured conversation. You and I had such a great time together in Atlanta at Recharge, and we had a conversation where I definitely had some windows open in my mind that I'm not going to forget. And I think that's spectacular, right? Because it's not like I'm a brand new business person. It's not like I haven't been working on improving myself for a long time. And to know that there's still the possibility of tapping into so much growth, to me, is a very special thing. So you'll recall that we had a conversation about mindset. And I found this picture of you. I thought it was absolutely spectacular. And I think it'd be wonderful if you could just elaborate a bit for our audience on the importance of mindset.
Well, first of all, that picture of me, that's very interesting. That was taken quite a while ago. I still water ski, only I've gotten a little bit better. For those people who water ski, they're going to be saying, oh, she's a little bit too far back on that ski there. She should be leaning a little bit more to make that spray go up more. Actually, just so you know, I was having fun here. I was spraying another boat that was just sitting there that was full of some of the folks that I knew. And so it was deliberately done. I hate to admit that, only I wanted to get them all wet. I thought it might be kind of fun. It was at Lake Powell, and it does bring back many memories. And with that, it's called about memories. It's called about your brain. Everything that we do, our brain is involved. So we've got to take good care of that. And we had a great time in Atlanta. I really appreciate that at Recharge. And what I want to share with some of the people is that each and every person on this call can hit higher goals and accomplishments by learning how your brain works. Actually, your brain, your seller's brain, your buyer's brain, I mean, we coach with the brain in mind, and how having the right mindset and skills actually allow you not only to survive, for whatever market you're in, it allows you to thrive in that market and literally dominate the market. Because, so write this down, the market lives between your ears. Your market lives in your head. Yes, you're going to track all of your numbers. Yes, you're going to know how many homes are on the market. Yes, you're going to know about all of this. And yet, don't allow those numbers to define who you are. You know, Gary Keller teaches us that the definition of leadership is to teach people how to think so they get what they want when they want it. Well, this is why BOLD works. I mean, we teach everyone how important their thinking is and how to think bigger and better to accomplish all that they desire. So,
okay.
What I'm...
Can I jump in there? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I've got such a thought I want to share on this topic. Because I've got a lot of questions from people who are talking about the potential of a coming market shift and how do they prepare for that and what do they do with that. And when I see that in the questions over and over, I really smell the fear. You're saying with certainty that the market exists between their ears. So let's get really, really granular with that. You know, how would you advise an agent who's suffering from fear of, you know, gosh, maybe in a few months I won't be able to have any closings and the money will dry up, and what am I going to do? How do you encourage them to stop that negative thinking pattern?
Well, thank you for that question, because, see, I believe that you are a victim of the rules that you live by, and those rules are made up by you. In fact, someone asked me in Baton Rouge, what's your favorite scripture? And I said, fear not. Because, you know, we're told over and over again that we don't really have to have fear. That's why the BOLD law, fear or faith, you choose. Because every thought we think and every word we speak is being responded to. Why? Because it's about energy. It's a point of power in that moment. And the thoughts that we're thinking and the words that we are declaring in this moment are actually helping to create our future. See, something happens in the world, and we have a response or a reaction to it. Then the way that our brain works, Dan, is we literally have a judgment around it. Now, people go, well, I'm not a judgmental person, and I go, no, you aren't. Your brain is. We are constantly judging. I like this, I don't like this. I like this word, I don't like this word. I think that color's pretty, I don't like that color. I mean, it doesn't matter. We're comparing, we're judging constantly. Now, once we have a judgment, we make up a story around that, which are the words that we are speaking. We have the thoughts about the story, and then we speak the story. And it's a point of power in that moment. Well, once we make up a story, because of our reticular activating system and the way that our brain works, it's like a Google search engine. It goes out there, and you tell it what's important based on your story. It says, oh, here's all the choices based on what's important to you. In essence, it will only gather information based upon the story that we tell it. And because we want to look good and be right, it will only gather information that supports the story. And therefore, we predict our future. So it's very important about training our mind. And you said, how do you train your mind to not think those negative thoughts? Well, I believe first and foremost, we've got to love ourselves. And I know that sounds really strange. I'm not talking about egotistical. I'm talking about, are you approving of yourself? Once you approve of yourself, you can start approving of others and start approving of circumstances, making the most of them. See, every one of us has things that happen. Call them problems if you want. You choose to decide, am I going to be a victim or a victor? And that's what's important about this.
I appreciate that. I remember in Atlanta we talked about gratitude as being kind of a thing that can transform something that seems like an obstacle or a negative thing. I've been through some trying times in my life, and I'm really grateful for them now. Now that I'm past them, it's easy to look back. I think we can all relate to that. They make us stronger. They really do. And so I try to remember that whenever I'm dealing with a current challenge, or I'm faced with something that's frustrating or irritating, or I might find myself in a period of self-doubt, and I just say, oh, now hang on a minute. So I definitely appreciate that, because there's a point where your brain changes, and you know, that thing that you had to try to do, you don't have to think about it anymore. Just like it was hard to tie your shoes at one point, it was hard to ride a bike at one point. Now those things, well, for you it may have been hard to slalom ski at one point, but now you don't have to think about it. You can just do it. So I like that we're opening. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, well, I was just going to say that I love what you're bringing up, because to me, in fact, write this down. Struggle brings new birth. That's what I heard you say. And, you know, I was fortunate in my life to literally give birth to my children. And through that struggle, I brought into this world new life. Through the struggle of those babies wanting to get out, they brought on new life for themselves. When I exercise every morning, I'm putting microscopic tears in my muscles, having them struggle to regain, struggle to get that blood flowing through them to repair themselves. And through that struggle, new life is brought on, new formation. And so when people have a struggle in their life, I almost say celebrate it, because you don't know what's around the corner. You don't know the new life that you're bringing into yourself. Now, I didn't say it was easy. I mean, it's like gravity. If you jump off a building, or you fall or accidentally trip and fall off the building, you're going down, because gravity is there. And the ignorance of that law is no excuse. It doesn't matter. Gravity worked before Sir Isaac Newton had the apple fall on his head, right? Certain things work. And so when you say gratitude has a great energy, well, what I learned in physics is that everything is made up of energy. Every atom, and we are made up of atoms, the table's made up of atoms, the computer that you're looking at is made up of atoms. And an atom consists of 99.99999% energy and 0.00001% particle. So that says that that energy is what helps us grow, what helps us bring on new skill. It's the energy that we put towards something that allows us to move forward or keeps us permanently where we're at. That energy allows us to thrive and totally dominate the market and win and have a great life. And as Sandy said, give me the freedom that I choose to have, the life that you deserve. Or it's an energy of negativity, an energy of complaining or fear, which is a negative energy, and like energy attracts like energy, because energy can't be created or created or destroyed. It can only be transformed or transferred. Mm-hmm. So when you take the energy of your thoughts, you take the energy of your feelings, and you put out to the world, you're going to attract the same feelings. So when we have the fear of the market, and I said at the very beginning that every thought you think and every word you speak is being responded to, and the point of power is in the moment, I'm talking about energy. You're literally putting that kind of energy out. That fear energy attracts more things to fear, because what you focus on expands. That has been proven over and over again. The growth of our company is a great thing to think about. We focused on growth, and we have tremendous growth. When you focus on listings, you take more listings. When you focus on building skills, you build more skills. When you focus on the lack of having skills, it allows you, because of the story. Remember, we went back to the story. Mm-hmm. The story is the market's no good. So your RAS is developed and given to where it's going to show you every place the market is bad. And when you believe that the market is up to you, that you make your own market, then your RAS starts helping you look for ways to make the market. It's not about what is impossible. You turn impossible to I'm possible. We're talking about struggle can be an exciting adventure. I mean, where you once saw limitations, you can see possibilities. Mm-hmm. And I believe that we've got to go through that as we look at things. We really look at what are the possibilities and change the rules that we live by. Change what we're attached to. Have an open mind. You have the choice, open mind or closed mind. And they did a study actually, Dan, with kids, and they found that some children, the minute that they failed at something, pushed the puzzle away, pushed the game away, didn't want anything more to do with it. And then they found some children that they couldn't put the puzzle together, or they couldn't do a math problem, or they couldn't accomplish something, and they just stayed after it. And they went, what is the difference? And as they interviewed these kids and asked them more and more questions, they discovered that the kids looked at it as a failure, had a closed mindset, not open. The other kids had an open mindset, and they looked at, well, I just haven't gotten it right yet. They were looking for the way to make it happen, where the other one wanted to look good and be right, and so if they didn't look good instantly, they gave up.
So that's
a lot of do that.
Well, I totally agree. I think it's really interesting. We walk around and we tell ourselves a story, and some people say, "Oh, well, other people can do that." And for me, that's a great segue into production, because you're a hyper-productive person. You get a ton done all the time, and some people observe that and they might say, "Oh, well, gosh, that person can just do that." And I'm curious, was there ever a time in your life where you weren't as productive as you are now? Do you feel it's something you learned or something you've always had?
That's a very good question. Number one, as far as productive, I've always been busy. I grew up in a family where we had a great work ethic. I mean, we all worked together, right, in the grocery store. And so if you wanted to get a ride a block from the school, you got up and rode to the grocery store with Mom and Dad at 5:30 in the morning. You better be ready, otherwise you were going to walk about a mile to school. So we all chose to be ready, right, to get the ride. You could call that lazy in one aspect, and you could call it smart in the other. So we went to the grocery store, worked at the grocery store, walked to school, and of course I had all my fun and all the things that we did, and then we were obligated and challenged to work every day. It was just a way of life, and we didn't really know any different. So productivity, as far as time put into work, it's always been there, the work ethic. Now, I firmly believe that you cannot be productive without skill. And as your skill grows, your confidence grows. And as your confidence grows, your mindset improves. Because every one of us at some point in our business life has found that we're at a halfway point. We're almost to our goal. And some people, there's a gap. There's always a gap between what it is you desire and where you currently are. And the way to fill that gap is through mindset and skill. A great mindset without skill will not make us productive.
That makes a lot of sense.
Great skill without a great mindset won't make us productive. So Dan, when you say, have you always been productive? No. I literally sat for a week. I did no real estate for 1 week. I did nothing except learn scripts and dialogues. And I heard a psychologist. I sold a house of a psychologist, and I was talking with him about the way people think and the way that the brain works, because I was fascinated by the brain at that time. And he said, well, Dianna, one thing we know is that given the same set of circumstances, with the same questions, the same words, etc., that 90% of the people will respond exactly the same way. Dan, that told me that all I had to do was figure out the words that were to be used. And frankly, they're in bold. I mean, I would change one word and see if it made a difference. I found that when I used the word if, I have a buyer willing to pay a price acceptable to you with a for sale by owner, made a difference in the response I got versus when I find a buyer. And that one word, and so I would change all of those, and I would literally record the calls I made. I would record my listing presentations, my buyer presentations, and I would go back and I would change a few words based on the response. If I wasn't getting the right response, I knew I did not have the right words, nor did I have the right energy, which means the thoughts and the feelings to go along with those words. Well, as I said earlier, we can get caught in this gap that we've created. And the only way to fill that gap is with mindset and skill. And that's why I truly believe in coaching. And I know every time I talk about coaching, because I'm overmatched, people think I'm selling. No, coaching may not be for you. I'm not here to sell coaching. I'm here to see your life expand. I'm here for you to think differently. Because when we're uncertain, we're surrounded by complexity and ambiguity anyway in this world. We're surrounded by a world of constant change. And there's literally only one rule that beats complexity, and that's to turn everything into simplicity, to have systems, to have models, to have that simplicity over complexity that's going to help us navigate those waters to success. A simple, scalable structure. And that's what we're working on with the growth initiative, the career growth initiative, the bold laws, the bold statements, all of these types of things.
Well, there are a lot of pieces that have to come together in a system, and that's where processes come in. When you have several good aligned processes, they add up, they compound. You get multiple points of leverage, and pretty soon what was once impossible, literally, is not just possible, it's expected. And when I look at the growth in your company, I think it's a great example of that.
Well, and you know what's interesting about that? You talked about times in my life, and a lot of the people on this call already know, I didn't have the money. I did an auction. I did $50 to get into real estate, and I won the auction. Thank goodness it was at 2 a.m. in the morning, for heaven's sakes. The other part is I didn't really have the money to afford a babysitter. Well, with that, I put my kids in a red wagon, and I went door to door. I figured the people wouldn't come see me, so I went out to see them. And, I mean, we would sit and knock on doors hour after hour, go to a park and play while we ate our lunch, put them back in the red wagon, and go for it. My kids today, if you talk to Sean and Shane, neither one of them bought a red wagon for their kids, and they tease me all the time saying they're still in therapy over it. So that is a joke. That is a joke, and yet they loved it. There was one point in my life that, I say if I was to kick the person responsible for all the problems in my life, I couldn't sit down for months, because that's what it's about. I'm responsible for all of the problems in my life. I was making a lot of money. I went from having nothing to, oh my gosh, my first year, 104 homes. I had more money than a lot of the attorneys, and I actually went to a financial planner, and they went, wow, I mean, you made more money this year than I did. Well, I knew I didn't want them as my financial planner. I didn't want to go backwards, right? And so it was very interesting. Well, I didn't watch my money, Dan, and I'm not proud of this. I want people to learn from my mistake. I was going pretty good, and we were living very well. Well, there was a lady that thought that my money was her money. I was taking over 72 houses in my property management, and those 72 houses, we made $50 or 10% of the rent at the time, and it was a pretty good income, I got to tell you, right? In those days. Today it wouldn't be that good. We're talking a long time ago. Well, here's what happened. Long story short, she takes the checks for the rent, and instead of putting them into our account, she puts them into her personal account. She took the mortgage checks that I wrote, instead of mailing them, she threw them in the trash, and then she sent the checks to the sellers of the difference, so the seller always got their check. The seller never called until they got a late notice from their mortgage company. Well, I went, oh my goodness, we did mail those off. I don't know what happened. We'll be happy to pay your $15 late fee. So I would write out a check for the $15 late fee and send to the mortgage company. Well, as long as the mortgage company in those days was getting some kind of a payment, they didn't say anything. Until one day, my accountant, who had been out of town over in England on a mission trip for 3 months with his son, came back into the country and said, Dianna, have you been watching your finances? And I said, no. And he said, you better get to the office fast. Now, this was 6 a.m. in the morning. I went, fast? I've got kids to take care of, get to school, all of that. What do you mean? And he goes, no, do what you can to get there immediately. Because we lived about halfway, going towards the office was halfway point between us. And, of course, I got there as quick as I could. And he showed me that I was overdrawn in my account. And I go, that can't be. Well, the seller's calling. The way we found this is the gal was ready to have a baby, and she was three weeks premature and went in the hospital. Otherwise, I think she would have been able to cover everything and figure things out to make it even last a little bit longer. Not having any money, we found that there were 72 houses that had not been a house payment made for 3 months. So if you think about that, that's 216 house payments plus my own that I had to make. Not a fun place to be. I also have to tell you one of the most humiliating times in my life was I sat on the board of directors at Jefferson County Board of Realtors. And I went to the meeting one evening, and 3 other people had ridden there with me, and we came out and my car wasn't there. And the president of the board used to be a police officer in Lakewood where the board was located, and he immediately picked up the phone and called the Lakewood police. Only he wasn't real kind in the fact that there we were with all the people. There were about 20 of us standing around because everybody was concerned, and he announced to the entire party, your car wasn't stolen, it was repossessed.
Oh.
And so with 22 realtors, tell a realtor, telegraph, telephone, tell a realtor, word got out, and the big joke was, if you're going to go somewhere, don't ride with Dianna, you may not make it home.
Oh, wow.
Well, in those days, now I've got 72 not sellers, they were people that entrusted me, and I didn't know if they were calling. We didn't have caller ID. I didn't know if they were calling. I didn't know if a mortgage company was calling me. I didn't know if it was a collector that was coming after me because I was robbing Peter to pay Paul at the time. I sold cars that I had. I ended up selling my 4 offices that I owned. I did everything I could, and I went back into sales. And, thank goodness that I had that skill to go back and to get started again. Now, people say, do you wish that wouldn't have happened to you? And I go, on one hand, yes. On the other hand, I wouldn't have learned such a great lesson. I watch my finances. I watch my money. I respect my money now like I never have before. And I did pay all of those people back. I did not take out bankruptcy, just so everyone knows. It's not that if you've taken out bankruptcy, I hold that against you. I don't. That's up for you. I felt obligated to make certain that I paid everyone back. Well, I never did do another property management. I also had to take every phone call because it could be a potential buyer, a potential seller. It could have been my kids. I didn't know who was calling on the other line. So when you say, did I ever struggle about production? Yeah, I went to sleep every night wondering how many houses I needed to sell tomorrow to dig my way out of that hole. Thank goodness I'd paid my house down to where I could, gain some money from getting a second on that house. Thank goodness I loved cars and had actually, I owned 4 cars. I was the only driver in the household. I have to tell you, I was a little extravagant at some things, and yet it was great I had them because I sold them. I mean, everything. I learned how to negotiate. Oh, my goodness. I could negotiate, and I learned how to negotiate those costs down to where on some cases it was 50 cents on the dollar, some cases 90 cents on the dollar, and some cases 10 cents on the dollar. And yet it was a struggle. So when people say, oh, you have no idea what I'm going through, I go, you're right. I don't. One thing I know, you can be a victim or a victor. And it's totally up to who you're listening to, what's happening in your life, and how powerful you choose to be. Fear or faith, you choose. That's when I realized that I had to believe in myself more than anyone else did. I had to keep my mind in the right environment. And the right environment, one person said they wanted to know their why, to figure out their why. Mine became very strong right then. My why was to take care of my kids. My why was to go into a listing appointment and know doggone good and well that it was easier for me to sit there until that seller would kick me out rather than to go home and tell my kids they weren't going to eat that night. Because believe me, I know now how to make 7 or 20 meals out of a pot roast. I'm telling you, I can do all sorts of things I never knew were possible. And it came from focusing on the plan, not the problem. I had to sit down, and this is not about bragging on what I did. This was about going through a time that I never want to relive, and I never want any of you to relive or to live one time, because it's a terrible place to be. Watch your finances. Get your money to work for you. Get a return on your investment. And I did get coaches and mentors that could help me through all of that. Because when you're going through something and you think your mindset is good, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not getting what you desire, then there's something in your mindset or skill that is keeping that from happening. And to have someone else look from the outside, it's kind of like when you go to dinner and you're eating spinach, right? And you go to the restroom and you're washing your hands and you open your mouth and you go, oh my gosh, I got some spinach right there in my tooth. No one ever told me it was stuck between my teeth. It wasn't until I was aware that it was there. See, if I'd had somebody that was with me that said, hey, you got some spinach right there, I would have gotten it out of my teeth. I believe that's a little bit about why we have mentors, why we have coaches, because they can see things from a different angle. They can see things in a different way, and they can bring new light. And I say you can't get to better until you get to different. Who's helping you become different?
I like it. I like it a lot. We're getting so many questions that are firing in here. I want to take a moment and ask, there's a really good general question here from Carrie McLeod. Carrie asks, for someone who's never been coached before, where do you start? What should be the best first step?
Well, first of all, there's different types of coaching programs. We have a group coaching program, Terry, that this is coached by specialists. You know, a lot of people don't want to go to a general practitioner. They want to go to a specialist, and I believe in specialists. So we have gone out, and I've hand-selected specialists that have actually proven themselves in a given area. And therefore, they can help coach you and teach you in a way that you, too, can become the very best. I mean, if you're going to learn basketball, you want to learn from, you know, somebody in 6th or 7th grade that plays basketball, or would you rather learn how to shoot a basket from Michael Jordan, right? I mean, I'd like to go with somebody that really knows what they're doing. The other part is breakthrough. We have a breakthrough program where it's 2 times a month. It's one-on-one with your coach. And then, of course, for those people who really, truly desire to become the very best that they can be, we have mastery. That's one-on-one weekly with your coach, except for when we have events, and then it's a group call because obviously they're at the same event that you are. Well, what happens during coaching is when you sign up for coaching, remarkably, we take your needs analysis and we look at what your needs and your expectations out of coaching are, and then we match you with a coach that we believe can help that happen. Now, I want you to know, a lot of people come into coaching and say, prove it to me, versus you've got to be coachable. See, if I had Michael Jordan teaching me basketball, and I really didn't want to do what Michael Jordan told me to do, and I go, no, 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 I know a better way, well, then coaching isn't for you. If you already have it all down and you know everything, then getting a coach is not going to change that. So I got to ask, are you coachable? And the other part is allowing us to find a coach for you. Now, there's a lot of coaching companies out there, and that coaching company does not have Gary Keller pouring into them. That coaching company doesn't have all of the things about Keller Williams, right? So with Gary Keller pouring into me and me pouring into the coaches, then that way you're getting like Gary Keller. You're finding out the things that you need to be doing. They call it coaching. It's really teaching. You just help them find the reason why.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. Now, there are a bunch of questions coming in. We have a broad audience today. Not everyone on the call is a Keller Williams agent or associate. So I'm thinking, you know, if we recap a couple of things. We started with mindset for a strategic reason. You know, if someone's going to enter into the coaching process, they've got to get their mind right. You know, and then as your mind is right, you've got to build those skills like we talked about. That allows you to move into a place where you've got great production. And here's a good question from Kevin Moore. You know, what if you've had coaches before and then your business drops off at some point? Is there something in the mindset He's interviewing coaches right now, and he thinks he's selected one. Oh, and now he's saying he thinks that you've just answered his question. So,
yeah, I think the biggest thing, Dan, is a lot of people want to interview the coach. Well, one of the things, and I understand that, I truly do understand that, and I commend you for, number one, wanting to have a coach. When we select a coach, see, we don't know our own mindset. We don't know our own blind spot. We do not know what's standing in our own way. And so there's a test that was provided. It's called the Thinking Strength, by a gentleman who actually was to win a Nobel Prize. And that Nobel Prize was because he put together an assessment that allowed people to understand how they thought, what their blind spots were. And those blind spots can actually be strengths and can also be weaknesses. So when we literally interview people to be our coach, we're interviewing them with those blind spots. Well, we're hiring a coach to find our blind spots. And the one that we're going to be the most interested in and really believe that we connect with are the ones that have the same blind spots that we do. That's why we connect with them so well. And therefore, we're literally aligning ourselves with the worst coach possible for us. Now, here's one thing I know. I didn't choose my coaches. I bought into a system. I bought into a person that ran the coaching industry, right, or that particular coaching. I bought into Gary Keller, and then I bought into Keller Williams. So a lot of people get into MAPS coaching because they buy into me, and then they buy MAPS coaching. Now, that, please don't take that egotistically. I'm just telling you that's where I was and what I did. Well, coaches were assigned to me, and I got to tell you, some of them I went, really? What am I supposed to learn from these folks? And I did learn. I learned from every single one of them. And, you know, the other day someone asked Chris Heller, because he's always had coaches, and they said, how did you choose a coach? And he always said, I never chose the coach. I allowed the process to choose the coach for me and knew that that coach would have something for me. And part of the process was to figure out what I was to learn during that process. And if my business was going and moving forward, then, you know, we just kept going. And if it ever started going backwards, I talked to the coach, and sometimes I changed coaches. So it's literally something that I really highly recommend, that you don't choose your own coach, because at an unconscious level, it's really not going to work out the best, because all of us have triggers in our brain. All of us have, well, we actually have 3 brains in one. Go to the new bold, you'll hear all about that, right, as it comes forward. With our brains and the way that we believe, it's very intriguing, because it's those belief systems that sometimes get in our way. So MAPS is here to help Keller Williams. MAPS is actually here to help everyone and to help them in the coaching realm. Coaching is about helping to bring the potentiality out of you.
I love that you just said that. I love that you just said that, because we're having questions from people. Whoa, is this KW only? And I've been saying, no, it's not. So
no, get in touch with us. That's, I mean, here's the thing that we know. We know that everything is constantly changing and developing. That means we've got to change and develop with it. We also know that anything we can capture in the moment, like your numbers. We can say, I have 17 listings right now. That's a number, and we can capture something in the moment. Then, as a coach, we look for probability as to why it's that way. And then we start paying attention to our thoughts. The coaches ask questions. They understand how the client thinks. And the more that the people answer the questions, then the more we can help them think differently. The difference with our coaching program compared to others is very interesting, because the thing that I know is we coach with the brain in mind. People say logic makes you think, emotion makes you act, and yet they don't teach you how your brain gets a hold of the emotions so you can act. It's an experience that we give. It's literally coaching through quantum physics, which is about possibilities, and coaching to the unconscious level so it allows you to move forward. Of course, it's all based upon your expectations. Coaching is a process, not an event. If you think it's a magic pill, think again. It's not. It never will be. Don't spend your last $1,000 or last $3,000 saying, oh, if it doesn't work out in 3 months, I'll just tell them I have no money. No. Give us 5 years and we'll give you one heck of a lot of money back. In fact, I made a comment to Gary Keller, give us 5 years, we'll be giving you $1 million every year thereafter. And I said, that's not a claims earning. And that he says, can you really prove that? Well, so far we haven't found anybody that's not been the truth. And I've got to tell you, we get to coach some of the greatest people, and some of the greatest people like Dan Harker. I mean, he was a coaching client and then realized he got so much out of coaching, and his business went up so much, and the way he was thinking changed. Now he's giving back. He's actually a coach of ours. Joe Bogart, the same way. I can go over and over. Drew Lee. I mean, we have so many great agents that got into coaching and now are coaches. Jim Reitzel up in Canada just became a coach. Kristen Cole. I mean, lots of fabulous agents realize that they want to go from success to significance. So if you're on this call and you're going, you know, I've been really successful, and success is all about you. This is my definition only. Success is about you. Significance is helping other people reach that success. And so when you go from success to significance, if that appeals to you, then let us know, because maybe you are a coach waiting to be developed. And one thing I do know from every single person that has been a coach with MAPS, they all say the same thing. I've learned more from MAPS coaching in my own development than ever. In fact, Harvard did a study about the types of leaders, and they talked about, you know, the coercive style of leadership, the authoritative style, the affiliative style, democratic style, pace-setting style, and I was so happy because they have introduced a new style. It was in 2014. I knew it was coming. It was called the coaching leadership style. And since it is a style, it's where you develop the people for the future. And it works best when helping people and building long-term strength. Notice I said long-term strength. And it's always done in a positive climate. So with all of those happening, and some people think the democratic style of building consensus through participation is the best way, and it really isn't. Democratic style is a good way. They have just found that the coaching style is much more effective. So I love that that's happening. And I just want to say one thing that I heard from J.K. Rowling, who's the gal that wrote Harry Potter. She said that failure means stripping away all of the inessentials. Not to fail means stripping away all of the inessentials. And I think that's what we have to do in our life, and a lot of times we need a mentor, a coach, a consultant, someone that's going to help us strip that away.
Yeah, I love the way that you're saying that, because you know, a little bit of my backstory. I had the good fortune of failing really seriously hard when I first tried to become a salesperson. I was so horrible, Dianna. It was pathetic. And that created a lot of pressure that forced me to realize I had to make some changes. I had a horrible mindset, right? Salespeople were evil, they were bad, they talked fast, they were, only interested in themselves, they were selfish. I had all of these beliefs that just were not helpful for me. And I think the process of entering into a coaching program, which I've had a coach, a professional coach, over the past 20 years of my career. I've never been without a coach. And I think of my much earlier self at that point in my life, and I made a decision that I wanted to rebuild Dan. Like, from the inside out, I wanted to be really solid at the core. And when I hear you say it's about stripping away, that's exactly what I had to do. I had to strip away so much ego and pretense and unhealthy thought processes and unhealthy belief systems. So there are so many questions stacking up here.
Okay, well, one of the things I've noticed, some of the people are dropping off the call. It is interesting when we talk about coaching, a lot of people start dropping off, and that's really, I feel unfortunate about that because there's so many wonderful things. I really want to make certain, though, there was a thought I had just a little bit ago. It was about stretching our mind and breaking the bonds of being that hostage around our thoughts. I think it's really important that we get down to that and really think about what thoughts do we have over and over and over again? What is standing in our way? And you've got to, success is an inside-out job. It starts on the inside because if you think that your environment is what gives you your success, no, it's your internal environment that creates your external environment. Therefore, it is an inside-out job. You got to start with you. And I mean, you're the only one that's involved in your life in every aspect of it. No one else is, only you. So we got to take extreme ownership. We got to figure out what level is our thinking. Where are we in our thinking? How big are we thinking? Are we thinking abundantly or are we thinking scarcity? Now, it's very interesting. Go ahead.
Well, I want to get to some of these questions here. 2 or 3 people have said, I just signed up for MAPS, and they're excited about that. But several more have asked, where can they go for more information? Is there a website you can send them to?
Yes, absolutely. You can go to mapscoaching.com. That would be the best place to go. We also have a 1-800 number, which I'll go ahead and get for you in just a moment. I don't have that memorized. I should. I also want to say, if you want to know more about how to coach your team and how to become a coaching leader, we have 7 spots left in our coaching skills camp, which is held in San Antonio. I believe it's June. Our coaching skills camp in Park City, Utah is already sold out. You can be on a waiting list. That one is in July. And we also have a couples retreat. It's called Growing a Great Life Together. And we have found that every relationship is starved in some way if it's not just at the highest, right? And when you find out what it means to have a starved relationship, safety, trust, appreciation, respect, validation, encouragement, and dedication, all these things are part of a relationship. And you come with your spouse, partner, significant other. Some people actually came by themselves to learn how to build a relationship with their staff, and they said they got so much out of it. And myself and Matt Townsend, who is a renowned, he even has his own radio show for building relationships, and he'll be doing a group coaching program for us as well. He'll be there. That's in Park City, Utah in July. I want to say like July 15th or 16th. It's a Saturday, whatever that Saturday is. It's a one day, and we have 19 spots available in that. And all of that is going to help you grow in various areas. So just wanted to get that out. So just,
audience, do us a favor. Make it easy for Dianna's team to reach out to you. If you have any interest in MAPS coaching or in becoming a coach, just let us know in the chat, and we'll capture that information. We'll pass it along to Dianna's team. I'm also seeing a bunch of questions in here about Happy Grasshopper and HG Touch for Keller Williams. That's not really the purpose of today's session.
Well, no, let's wait there for just a moment because I do want to say something about this, Dan. Number one, I've had webinars before, and I have never had the type of response and sign-ups that I have had since I've been using your services.
Oh.
I mean, literally today we got up to about 700 people on the phone, and we know that about a third or less of the people that actually say they'll do something, things come up. I get it. It's called life. In fact, I say life is what happens when you're busy doing other things, right? Mm-hmm. And so they were unable to be there, and yet to have over 700 people on this phone to be able to, and thank you once again for the opportunity, all of you. The way that you construct the message, because I said at the very beginning, words matter. That's the point of power, is your thinking and the words. And with you and I working together and really tweaking those words, and you don't have to say a lot, you just have to say the right things. I mean, Gary Keller says a lot when he says, aim high, think big, act bold, right? Mm-hmm. He says a lot with those three things. So what is it that you're saying, and how are you saying it? And get somebody that knows what they're doing. And I have found you, and I'm so appreciative of that. And I appreciate you allowing me to be interviewed today and just pour in and share some of the things that I believe, because when we can think differently, our entire world changes. And when our world changes, our family's world changes, our kids' world changes, their friends change. I mean, we influence so many people in our lives, and I so appreciate you allowing me a few moments to help influence you.
Oh, thank you so much, Dianna. It has been an absolute pleasure to work with you and to write for you and to get to know you. You really are a very special human being, and I'm privileged to be in your life. So I want to take a moment. I know it's a little after 4 right now, and I believe you had a hard stop. So are we okay to answer a few more questions, or do we need to wrap up?
Give me a couple more. I'll hang on there. I know we're going down with people. I've got a department head meeting I've got to run into fairly quickly. I can be a few minutes late. Go ahead.
Okay. So as a newer agent, what should I focus on first?
Lead generation. It's the only thing you should focus on. I would lead generate for 6 to 7 hours a day. That's what I did.
Here's a great
You don't have
question.
Anything else to do. Yeah.
Here's a great question. I'm just going to fire these at you.
I'll take 2 more real quick.
What do you think is the single most important thing you've learned?
Oh.
That's probably a tough one to answer.
No, actually it's quite easy. It's everything rises and falls on me. I determine my destiny. I determine by the choices I make. I either catapult myself forward or I make myself go backwards. It's about me. I'm the one that has to improve my skill. I'm the one that has to improve my thinking. And no one succeeds alone, so I've got to bring someone alongside me. I have mentors. I have coaches. I have trainers. I have my husband, who is a great coach, that sometimes wants to coach me when I don't want him to. So, like the other night, I started saying something, and he goes, don't complain about what you tolerate. I go, well, then I'm not tolerating it anymore. And he goes, good. And I go, good, just made up my mind. Bam. So see, we all get to that point. Isn't that fun?
Yeah, I think there's a point in our progress. I see this with my friends like Ben Kinney and Ryan Tollefson, where their businesses have grown to such an extent that the money question is now out of the way. And a lot of agents look at people who are hyper successful like they are, and it feels like they could never get there. But then you realize that those guys have really just been in the industry a few years. A few years. So I would just encourage everyone on the call to recognize that where you are today is the perfect place to start. You're exactly where you need to be. You have all the people in your life that can help you get where you want to go, wherever that might be. You just have to decide that now is the time that you're going to do it. It's literally that simple.
I just want you to know it's been so much fun, and I want to apply for that job. We've got great coaches. We're here to help, and whether it's group, one-on-one, doesn't matter. Go to bowls. Just 2 thoughts. Don't listen to what others say you can or cannot do. Just because someone hasn't done something doesn't mean that it can't be done. After all, it's pretty embarrassing to watch someone do something that you said couldn't be done. I mean, that's why I put my kids in a red wagon. Everybody told me that was crazy. It wouldn't work. Well, they don't determine my life. I do.
And that was 105 houses? 100 and something houses? 104 houses your first year with your little red wagon. There's literally no obstacle except those you allow yourself to recognize.
Right.
So
what's your red wagon? And the last thought is act as though what you do makes a difference, because it does. With that, they're calling me to get to that meeting. Thank you. Love you for the opportunity. I trust you all got at least one thing out of the webinar. Bye-bye.
Take care, Dianna. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here with the audience. There are several questions that I can go ahead and get answered. So I'm going to go ahead and take a moment to do that. And again, for the recording, Dianna, thank you so much. I definitely appreciate your time today. So there are a few questions about people who either have signed up for HG Touch for Keller Williams or are interested in signing up for doing that. If you have signed up, you've received an email from us. You can also just reach out to us, reach out to our staff. We're really easy to get hold of. 727 is our area code, 232-9117. That's our main line. Anybody there can help you. Couple of questions. Let me just go through here. Ramon, no, the program is not the same as viral.com. That is different. Alex Maynard, good to see you, buddy. Thank you for your kind comments. I definitely appreciate that. William, you're welcome. Love that you're here today. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Dennis. Billy Akofo. Gosh, I can't wait to see you again. Let's see. All right, that looks like about the questions there. I'm going to tread water for just a moment. Anyone else who has any questions, I will get these answered. Kevin, I see your comment there. He says he signed up with us years ago and never completed his stuff. So we're here for you. And as you know, we're a company that does the right thing. So just reach out. You can reach directly out at 727-232-9117. Send an email to support@happygrasshopper.com, and our team will take great care of you. Let's see if we're already registered in the Keller Williams coaching. Should we consider the bold coaching? Mercedes, that's a question I'm actually going to take a stab at answering, because I am currently enrolled in MAPS coaching. They have MAPS business coaching for people who aren't in real estate, and I've found that it's really valuable. Bold, of course, is very specific for real estate agents, so that's not something that I've done. But I really think it's a great program. So I would encourage you to take a look at that. And of course, you can also reach out to them, and they'll answer those questions for you. Several people have requested that we do a webinar to show you HG Touch for Keller Williams. I've done a few of those before. I'll be happy to do another one. If you want to participate in that, just go ahead and let me know here in the chat. Say, demo please, something like that, so we'll know that that's what you're raising your hand for. And I will go ahead and make sure that we invite you. All right, Daniel, we'll get you in there for sure. Myrna, no problem. Mercedes, no problem. Happy to help you with that. And, oh yeah, question from Myrna. You're asking, is there a recording of this webinar? Yes, this is being recorded, and as soon as we shut it down here in the next few minutes, the system will go ahead and button that up, and we'll get it emailed out to everyone. So 3,160 people registered for this webinar today. We still have over 300 people who are here on the line, so more than happy to answer whatever questions you may have for us. Well, thank you, Sally. Tracy, I love it. You're asking about when are we going to reschedule our webinar about allied partners. I believe what you're talking about there would be the vendor webinar. So let's spend a moment just talking about that. One of the most valuable segments of any agent's database are the local vendors that they can do business with. So, you know, I don't care if it's your dry cleaner, your plumber, your electrician, the restaurants you love to go to, whoever these folks are, they all have customers. They all have an opportunity to meet and interact with people, and just as you do. So I would strongly suggest that anyone in real estate start maintaining a list of local companies that they really like, and then have an outreach program to other local vendors so that you can build referral relationships with them. And it's really a pretty simple thing to do. In HG Touch for Keller Williams, we create the content for you that helps you establish and maintain those relationships. And just, you know, as an example, you might reach out via phone and have a conversation about their business. Say you like their service, you've heard good things, ask if they're accepting more clients. And then, of course, you can segue that conversation into the fact that you're accepting clients as well, and you'd like to have a referral partnership. Dawn, thank you very much. I'm glad you found this really helpful. And thanks again, Alex, Jeff. What's different about the KW version of your content? Okay, great question, Jeff. So HG Touch for Keller Williams is a really unique product. It's patent pending, and we're marrying technology with professional copywriting. So when agents are in our system and they're choosing messaging, we're asking them to rate the messages. So if they really like a message, they're going to give it a lot of hearts. If they really don't, they won't. And that teaches us what the individual agent wants more of, and it teaches us what the community as a whole wants more of, so that we can write more content that, of course, the community will want. Now, we're also using the technology to measure the responses that those messages generate. So this creates a bunch of teachable moments. For example, Jeff, we might be able to say to you, we know you like these messages. Here are messages that are performing better than the ones you're currently sending. So it creates lots of teachable moments. And all of that content at this point in time is totally exclusive to Keller Williams. So, you know, we're very pleased to be able to release that, very excited about it. Why a waiting list? This is a good question. So right now there are a little over 150,000 Keller Williams agents, and there are 21 employees here at Happy Grasshopper. So we're launching 500 clients in the month of December, and we're going to choose those clients from people who are on our waiting list and people who elect to become foundational members, which you do that by purchasing a year of service. So that's what I meant earlier when I said you go to the front of the line. We have almost 5,000 people who've made a reservation to use HG Touch, and we're pulling people from that list as well. So if you're on that list, we're going to reach out to you just as soon as your number gets called. And Sally, you're so welcome. You certainly are. You have a great day too. So we still have a little over 250 people on the call. Any questions that you have, I'm happy to answer for you. Brian Casper, what's the cost of HG Touch? It is $59 per month or $599 per year. That's the foundational membership price. Sunny, you're welcome. Nice to see you on the webinar today. You're welcome too, Brian, certainly. Gosh, I love all these people that raise their hand for a demo. That's super exciting. We'll reach out to you and make sure that, that you get those. Roseanne Nitty, thanks for asking. You go to tryhg.com. That's try, T-R-Y, H is in happy, G is in grasshopper.com, tryhg.com. And you'll see sample messaging there on that page. You can make a reservation, you can see testimonials, you can learn what you need to learn and decide whether or not you'd like to purchase, which you can do right there on that page. And you're welcome. Happy to answer that for you. What's the difference between HG Touch and Happy Grasshopper? So um, there's quite a lot of differences. How to explain them? So Happy Grasshopper was launched 6 years ago, and at the time we created one message per month that was designed for people who already knew who you were. And our company grew really quickly. Agents loved the responses from the messages we were sending, and they decided, well, gosh, I'm going to send that sort of message to everybody. Well, a message for someone who knows you doesn't work very well for someone who doesn't know you. So, something for your sphere is not appropriate for your leads, for example. So we created an expansion of our services where we created custom content for lead conversion and for recruitment. And for the last 3+ years, we've written thousands of custom campaigns and sent hundreds of millions of emails. And that's really what's taught us about what's going to be most effective for agents and allowed us to create HG Touch for Keller Williams. So the big difference is, of course, when you're using HG Touch, the content is not written specifically for you. Our copywriters have not interviewed you. However, we're providing a lot of content that's refreshed on a regular basis, so the content never gets stale, and you can always go through and read the messages and decide which ones are most appealing to you. My advice would be to send the message that you find personally most appealing. If you think it's a great message, the people who like you are certainly going to think it's a great message too. So lots more people here. Let's see. Suzanne Murtha, I need you to put yourself on the waiting list, please. If you could just go to tryhg.com. You just type in your first, last, email, and phone, and we'll take care of that for you. What is the class or training that you recommend to a new agent? Gosh, it really depends on your background. Over the years, I've worked with some brand new agents who come from a strong sales background. And, you listen to them. In fact, I have a friend here in Tampa, Alex Antonakos. He had been a corporate cell phone rep. And when Alex decided to become a real estate agent, he didn't really need to learn sales skills. He needed to learn the real estate business. So he went to work as part of a team. He became a buyer's agent. And then he really quickly did the math and said, I'm going to focus on listings. So he went out and did a bunch of door knocking, which, gosh, I think it was November a year, maybe 2 years ago, where he had something like 11 listings just from door knocking. It's really exciting stuff. So my advice would be to just kind of do a little personal assessment. What do you need most in order to succeed? Do you have the sales skills? Do you have the industry knowledge? Do you really know how to work your database in order to create the opportunity? Do you need to understand what lead generation sources are going to be most effective? I get a ton of questions about that, and we catch leads for so many clients that I really have a lot of insight into what's most effective when it comes to lead gen. So, I'm always happy to answer those questions. Let's see. Orshi will do that. Thank you. Jay, it was released November 15th, 2016, so massive, massive update. Lisa, she's asking about a product for teams. What does that cost, and how does it differ? So we have HG Touch for Keller Williams, we have HG Pro, and then we have HG Team. Each is a slightly different solution. I would encourage you, Lisa, to just go ahead and reach out to Seth. Seth Garber is his name. He's one of the people here who can help you with that. His email is seth@happygrasshopper.com. When we're working with teams, we have to really understand how it is that your team works. So, for example, we'll talk about my friend Ryan Tollefson up in Anchorage. I think last time I checked, he had about 27 buyer's agents on his team. And so from his primary website, he's catching tons and tons of leads. Then they're being routed to the agents. So we want messaging to come from the agent that's assigned a lead, and our system helps that happen. Kathy, you're an HG client today, and you're asking when your HG Touch will start. The only reason it hasn't already would be because we haven't been able to confirm that you're with Keller Williams. So I've got your note here. We need to go ahead and figure out why our system didn't detect that. It should have rolled out for you automatically. I'll have your note here, Kathy. I'm just going to make a note as well. We'll follow up on that. And Liz, if you're in the webinar, Liz Frank, she runs our success team here. I'll just ask Liz to reach out to you, Kathy. So let me get that down. Okay, note made. Let's see. Oh, and you're welcome, Lisa. Denise, I don't know which one you have offhand, but we can certainly figure that out. So let's see here. Scott, you have the, he's telling me he's got the $19 per month legacy Happy Grasshopper. So what that product is only focused on your past clients and sphere of influence. There's no content in there for your leads, for other agents, for vendors, for people you might want to recruit. All of that content is available in HG Touch. So if you were to upgrade, Scott, all that additional content would be there, and all your contacts and your signature and everything that you already have set up would be there for you as well. So this is a pretty good reason for me to mention some of the differences. Some of the things that we've learned over the years of sending messaging for real estate agents. We've identified that there are 6 audiences that are really critical to your success. First is past clients. I mean, obviously past clients are a huge source of referral business, as is the second group, your sphere of influence. Those are both groups that know who you are that need to be communicated with in the next group, which would be leads. A lead doesn't know you. You're a stranger to them. You're just another agent on the planet. They don't have any reason to want to work with you yet. They've got to be communicated with in a different manner. Next group would be other agents. You know, a lot of you, and I mean, gosh, we all get this, right? We check our email and we know the day that the newsletter went out because we have 15 copies from different agents who are sending it to us. Agents are a great source of referral business. They can be a great opportunity for recruitment. There's all sorts of value in building relationships with other local agents. They should not get your typical marketing messages. Do they need to know about your brand new listings? Absolutely. Do they need to know about open houses you have scheduled? Absolutely. But they probably don't need to get your, hey, this is my monthly market update message. So that's why we segment them into different audiences. So recap, we've got your past clients, your sphere of influence, your leads, your other agents, and then your vendors, which we've talked about your vendors, and then your recruits. So I know a lot of the people, not all the people on the webinar today, are with Keller Williams. So you have a great motivation to want to add people to recruits. So we want to help you with that. We want to create that content for you, make it easy to start those conversations. So let's see if there are more questions. Question about these lead gen sources. So, you know, I want to phrase this the right way. So, one of the things I love about real estate is that there's no one right way to do things, right? There's no one path to success that works for everyone. I have a client who does about $20 million a year in transactions, and all she does is hold houses open for other agents. That's it. She doesn't have a website. She doesn't ever list properties. She only generates buyer's leads from holding those houses open for others. And, you know, she's got a very respectable business built for herself doing that. And that's just the way she wants to do it. Now, a lot of my clients would think she's out of her mind, and they would never want to sit at an open house if they can have someone do that for them. I mentioned Alex Antonakos earlier. He's Mr. Door Knocker. He loves to get out and meet people face to face and go for a walk. For him, that's been super, super effective. I mentioned Ryan Tollefson, right? He is like Mr. Web Guy. He sits in his office and he looks at the back end of his website, and he's very, very good, very effective at building traffic and generating leads from that traffic. So, those are three totally different ways to be successful in real estate. And, there is just no one right way to do it. So let's talk about a few things I would suggest for people at different tiers in their career. Let's say you're that brand new agent and you don't know what you don't know, and yes, you agree. Dianna said the first thing you should focus on is lead gen and nothing else. Well, I would say the thing that you probably need to do are those very low-cost lead gen activities. Go talk to a listing agent, see if you can hold the home open. Go talk to an agent who's got an excess of leads and they're just wasting them, right? There are agents probably in your office who are generating more leads than they can work. Ask them if you can work them and share a piece of the commission. Pick up the phone, call FSBOs, call expireds. There's all sorts of really low-cost things you can do to produce opportunity for yourself. Now let's shift up a tick. Let's say you've been in your career for a while, you're out of your dabbler phase, this is something that you can do and you want to do it at a higher level. Well, at some point you're going to need to make the investment in really having an effective lead generation process, which is typically going to include an online component. Many of our clients are using common platforms like Real Estate Webmasters, Real Geeks, Boomtown, so on and so forth. There are a lot of really great, effective platforms out there. I'm not going to advocate for any specific one here. I am going to say that there are so many that are so well known and understood that you ought to be able to get lots of references to make sure that's a good fit for you. And then if you're at a higher level, like my friend and client Gary Ashton, he's in Nashville. He has over 80 buyer's agents. He's generating an enormous amount of leads. Or Chris Lindahl, he's a great example up in Minneapolis. Chris has gone from a single agent who had just a crazy 2014. He did 175 transactions by himself with himself and an assistant. And he did that by investing really heavily in online lead generation. And then, of course, if you imagine a year like that, as great as it is, it's also extraordinarily tiring. So he's built a very successful team, and they're charging very hard towards 500 transactions. So I would say you've got to crawl before you walk, walk before you run. Start with the very low-cost things that require your effort. And as that becomes profitable, set aside a portion of your GCI to invest in lead gen and invest in leverage through other people. That would be my advice for you. So, folks, we still have, it looks like 175 people are on the line. Stephanie, I see you must have just joined us. We're actually wrapping up the session. There's been so many questions, I've hung out to answer them. Dianna was on with us. She did a great job, and she's gone for the day. So you will get a copy of this since you've registered, Stephanie. We'll go ahead and send that to your inbox. So you should have that at some point tomorrow. So folks, I'm going to take one last perusal here through the questions. If you have any other questions, I'm happy to stay on and answer them. We are about a half an hour over right now, so I'm certainly prepared to wrap it up as well. Hint, hint. All right, folks, I don't see more questions popping in, so thank you. Sincerely, I really appreciate the time that you've invested with me today. And I am confident in people. I'm confident in your ability to take what you've learned, to take, and I don't mean what you've learned here today, I mean what you've learned in your life, to take that, combine it with your personal ambition and your power to decide to do the things that will really make a difference for you, that effort compounds, and it can produce success that's far beyond any level that you may currently anticipate for yourself. That's been a story I've been so fortunate to live in my life, and I sincerely believe if I can do it, anyone can do it. I've made a million mistakes. I'm going to make a million more. That doesn't mean you should stop trying. It means you should recognize that because you've made some mistakes, you're that much closer to figuring out the right way to do it. So, folks, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up for today. Thank you again for attending. I sincerely appreciate it. Have a great afternoon. Bye now.